Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a Gilmore Girls themed video. So today we're going to go through and recommend some different cozy books that embody different elements of the show. Let me know in the comments down below who is your favorite Gilmore Girls character and why. So the first book I want to recommend is called Dead and Breakfast. This is by Kingsbury. This is the first book in the Mary Ghost Inn mystery series. So the reason I'm recommending this is because we have a granddaughter-grandmother duo. So we have kind of that family. They're very close friends. A lot like Lorelai and Rory are, so they're related, they're very close friends. There's a lot of witty banter between the two of them, and they're opening an inn together. So that really reminds me of Lorelai and Suki opening the inn. This book is the first in the series, so it really goes through the process of them decorating the place, cleaning it, like you really get the behind the scenes of the inn, which is really exciting. There's also a cute shaggy little dog that kind of reminds me of Paul Anka here. And this book also includes a lot of cozy slice of life moments, like shopping together, eating together, cooking together, just all of those like warm and fuzzy kind of moments that a lot of us love in Gilmore Girls. And basically this is a cozy mystery. And unfortunately, the grandmother and granddaughter uncover a body hidden in like a secret room in their inn when they're starting to like put it together and stuff. So they have to kind of figure out what happened. It's a historical mystery. It's the bond between the two of them is just wonderful. Everything about this is cozy. You have the inn setting, the slice of life moments, the cozy characters, and it's just fantastic. I would definitely recommend this. And it's a really good fall read. It's got a little bit of the paranormal with it just because the inn that they have is haunted. It's a pretty small part, but it is fun and kind of just gives you that Stars Hollow, like, small town vibe that I really love about the show. The next series I want to recommend is the Noodle Shop Mystery Series by Vivien and Chien. This is incredible. The first book in the series is Death by Dumpling. The second one is Dim Sum of All Fears. Basically in this, our main character, Lana, which reminds me a lot, Lane, one letter apart there. I'd say she has a little bit of a Lorelai streak to her. She loves her junk food. She's a little bit of a rebel in her family. Her family is pretty traditional and she kind of struggles against her parents. It's not quite the dramatic relationship that Lorelai and Emily have, but it's definitely, there's some struggle between her and her mother and kind of what their ideas for life is. The first book takes place after she's walked out of a job and she had like a dramatic workplace breakup. She moves back to Cleveland, Ohio, and she starts to work in her family's noodle shop, which really isn't her idea of a good time. She's kind of begrudgingly there. So kind of, again, a little bit of that Friday night dinner themes where they're kind of going along because they have to. It's not like I want to be here, I'm like loving this situation. But as the series progresses, she kind of falls into a more like lovely pattern with her family. We get to see her open up more, and her roommate that she lives with, Megan, is a hoot. They are very close best friends. They kind of remind me of Lane and Rory, their relationship. It's just very like dynamic. They love having their junk food takeout nights, and like there's a lot of little pop culture references here and there. They love watching their TV together, so that kind of reminds me of Lorelai and Rory in their living room. So I definitely recommend this series. It is a cozy mystery series, so there are little mysteries. There are mysteries throughout the series, but the vibes of this, the family dynamics, all of that are very much Gilmore-esque in my opinion. If you are looking for a series that actually features sisters, which I kind of consider Lorelai and Rory's sisters even though they're actually mother and daughter, this one is a great one. This is the Pizza Lover's Mystery by Cavender. This particular one is Pepperoni Pizza Can Be Murder. I've read every book in this series, and we have our main character, Eleanor Swift, who reminds me a lot of Rory because she's a more reserved individual. She's not as outgoing and bouncy as her sister Maddie is. So I feel like they kind of play off each other because they absolutely love each other. There's a lot of fun dynamics between the two of them in the books, but Eleanor is more like reserved and practical like Rory, and we have Maddie, who's a lot more extroverted, bubbly, she's more daring in her love life, all of those sort of things like Lorelai is. So we kind of have that fun clash of personalities while still loving each other and getting along. This will make you hungry as well. Like I feel like Gilmore Girls, they're constantly eating pizza. So the Pizza Lovers Mystery Series, there's a lot of great scenes where they are making pizzas because they own I think it's just called The Slice. A Slice of Delight. It's located in Timber Ridge, North Carolina, And so Eleanor is the owner of Slice of Delight. Maddie sometimes works there as like a waitress, but she is constantly putting together pizzas, and there's these amazing scenes describing the pizza, the process of pizza making, the dough making. There's recipes included as well, which gives me Suki vibes because she just has that love for food that Suki truly does, and she's proud of her craft. And it will just make you hungry. There's plenty of junk food with the pizza. There's the fantastic sister relationship where they're kind of getting on each other's nerves, but they're always there for each other. So sometimes the mysteries involve Maddie getting into trouble and the police kind of looking at her as a suspect, or Eleanor, and so they're always there for the other one, sticking up for each other, and absolutely could not recommend this more. It's fantastic. So a long-term favorite of mine I had to recommend is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This is a classic. I have literally read this over a dozen times. I've had this since I was like in 4th or 5th grade, I want to say, and it was just my favorite. I read it so many times. I still love it. If you have not read this, it's basically a classic surrounding 4 sisters, those otherwise known as the Little Women, and we have Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy. And so Jo reminds me a bit of Rory in the fact that she wants to be a writer. She's very bookish. However, her personality is much more aggressive and rebellious like Lorelai, so it's kind of a fun smashing together there. But I recommend this because the family bonds in this between the sisters are so heartfelt. All of the characters are so well developed. They all have their unique personalities and goals and dreams, but they all come together as this beautiful family, very close-knit. And then Meg and Jo especially have some really heartwarming moments with their mother, which again kind of reminds me of Lorelai and Rory, having that closeness and ability to speak about real things that are actually bothering them without being like afraid of shame, like any shame or anything. Like they can really be open with their mother, and it's just beautiful scenes. This has so many beautiful scenes in it, and it really gives you a lot of fall, winter, like seasonal vibes. Like I feel like Stars Hollow is always decorated so beautifully. There's a lot of fall vibes with Stars Hollow, but they celebrate spring. They have like all the festivals and things. And in Little Women, there's really an emphasis on the beauty of nature and the different, seasons and holidays. They really have a lot of moments around that. Beautiful slice of life moments. The sisterly bonds are excellent. The mother-daughter bonds are beautiful. There's just so much heartfelt and heartwarming moments in this that you will just want to cozy up with it. If you haven't read Little Women, regardless of whether or not you like Gilmore Girls, you should read this. It's absolutely just an incredible book. It will make you smile. It will make you want to cry. Like, it's just a beautiful look at women and sisterhood and family, and it's amazing. I really can't say more than you need to read this. It's probably one of my all-time favorite classics. If not my all-time favorite classic, it's up there. It's really close. Okay, so the next one I want to recommend is the Bakeshop mystery series by Ellie Alexander. This is just an amazing series in general. It's one of my most read cozy mystery series. I've read like the first 9 or 10 in the series, and I highly recommend it. I'll put some pictures on screen because I've checked all of mine out from the library. But our main character in this is a daughter named Jules, short for Juliet. There's a lot of Shakespeare themes throughout this. She is returning to her home in Ashland, Oregon, and she's working with her mother, who owns the Bakeshop Tort, which is like their family's bake shop. So one, you have the Suki vibes because they have so many amazing descriptions of food, recipes, the love and the art and the craft they have with their baking is just so incredible because Jules is a trained pastry chef and her mother has worked in the bake shop for a very long time and has a culinary background as well. So you have the really close mother-daughter bond that's just beautiful. You have the bake shop, you have the delicious like junk food, pastries, all of that good stuff, as well as some savory scenes. And Jules is such an artist when it comes to cooking. It just reminds me so much of Suki. The small town vibes in Ashland, Oregon are beautiful. I just, like thinking about the town, it gives me Stars Hollow vibes. It's on the other side of the country, but it's just this beautiful, homey place. They have so many different festivals and events that the books are centered around, much like Stars Hollow, where the episodes are frequently centered around like a festival or town event. And most of the ones in Ashland, Oregon have like a Shakespeare theme to them because the town is just obsessed with Shakespeare, which is really fun. So there's like Midsummer Night festivals, there's like Shakespeare's like lost works that have been found in one book. There's just a bunch of different Shakespeare themes woven into them, which is just such a delight. And the last thing I wanted to add about the Bakeshop mystery series is that the mother's love interest at one point just reminds me so much of Max from the first season or 2 of Gilmore Girls, which is Lorelai's love interest, are both very like bookish. They're like very like literature heavy. They love literature, but the professor's constantly quoting Shakespeare, kind of like Max will quote different things as well. And they're both very like calming presences. They're very close with their stepdaughter. Like Jules and the professor get along great, just like Rory and Max got along great. So I just love this series. It is the embodiment of cozy. If you want something with the cozy mystery, if you want the perfect kind of Stars Hollow-esque setting, small town, beautiful town events and things. All the descriptions, there's a lot of fun holiday and seasonal themed ones. There's even a 4th of July themed one, so you can find a theme for any time of year. Absolutely recommend it. The next book is the only book on this list that I haven't read, but I had to throw it in there because it's a coffee themed mystery series. And I mean, can we all remember the scene with Lorelai? Coffee, coffee, coffee? Like, obviously there's a huge theme with coffee. There's Luke Diner with all of the coffee. There is so much coffee in Gilmore Girls, and I really wish I could drink it, but I can't handle caffeine like that. So I just enjoy smelling coffee when my husband brews it for himself, basically. But love coffee. The smell of it is so beautiful. This series is by Cleo Coyle, and then the first book in the series is called On What Grounds. A lot of you have actually recommended this book to me. It is on my TBR. I'm very, very excited to be reading it in the near future. And so the basic premise of this is that our main character Claire recently left an unhappy marriage and job. She's finished raising her daughter, so she is an adult. She has an adult daughter, kind of like Rory and Lorelai, and she's moved back to Greenwich Village to kind of just, you know, get a fresh start, and she starts to work as a barista at this place called the Village Blend, and she's actually working for her former mother-in-law. And on her first day at work as a barista, she actually finds another barista at the bottom of the stairs dead. Now the police rule it as an accident, but she thinks otherwise. So this is just a really, again, a very cozy read. You have the mother-in-law, you have the mother-daughter like adult relationship there, you have the cozy historic town of Greenwich Village, and you have the heavy coffee theme. There's going to be a lot of coffee talk in this. So if you love the coffee elements of Gilmore Girls and you want to cozy up to something, this would be a really great series for you. Alright, and my next recommendation is the Scottish Bookshop mystery series because our main character reminds me so much of Rory, especially like early seasons Rory. I don't know how you feel about some of the later seasons, but we could talk about that for a while. There's some issues, I think. So our main character in this is Delaney, and she has moved from like kind of the middle of the United States to Scotland for this job working at this like unique exotic bookshop. And she's working for this man named Edwin, who's kind of eccentric. He's very wealthy. He's got a lot of like book themed memorabilia and artifacts and old books, and he's kind of hiring her to like categorize them, assess their value, and just look at them. So there's all these bookish treasures. She also develops a relationship with a pub owner who reminds me a lot of the Luke and Lorelai relationship, like the local diner, the local pub owner. There's some definite vibes there that's just very cozy. One of the characters in this story named Hamlet, he is an employee at the store, and he's like a young man. He's like 19 or 20. Our protagonist is in her 30s, and he's kind of like a younger brother to her. They have a very sweet relationship, but he reminds me a lot of Jess, especially as you get into his backstory. There's a lot of moments in his backstory that's kind of reminds me of Jess because of kind of the troubled upbringing, but him like turning out okay in the end. So I kind of like that, and Hamlet is of course a huge book lover, seeing as he works at the bookshop. Another fun fact is the main character actually hears like bookish quotes in her head. Like she loves books so much that she kind of gets these intuitive book quotes that kind of help her solve some of the mysteries, which is really interesting. Another main character is Rosie. She's an employee at the bookshop, and she's this very sweet lady who's I think about old enough to be Delaney's grandmother, and they have a very sweet kind of grandmother-daughter like relationship that's just very touching. And the whole bookshop, it's a very like family feeling place. All the employees are very much like family. You get very attached to them. Delaney's a very sharp, cunning, just smart, bookish sleuth. I really enjoy her mysteries, and all of the mysteries in this series have something to do with books in some way. Like sometimes, you know, it's like stolen bookish items. My favorite one is the book that included the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde like scavenger hunt. That one was entirely crazy, but it was really, really fun. So I would highly recommend this. You kind of have the Luke Lorelai-esque relationship. You have different members of the bookshop who remind me of different Gilmore characters. Main character herself kind of reminds me of Rory. especially like in her earlier seasons, and it's just such a delightful bookish themed series. So if you're really looking for that cozy element, I would suggest this one. Alright, so our last recommendation is an Agatha Christie I recently finished. It's called A Murder is Announced. It takes place in a very kooky small town. The premise is that a murder is literally announced in the newspaper. And this reminds me of Stars Hollow, because not that Stars Hollow has murders, but they have all those kooky town events. And so the townspeople, instead of thinking this is an actual threat of a murder, they all think it's like a parlor game. Because nothing happens in their town. It's like Stars Hollow. It's very, you know, friendly and people get together and there's events, but it's, you know, no one's murdering anyone. Well, they show up and unfortunately someone is actually murdered. So this mystery takes place like in a small town. You have Miss Marple solving it, and she's just kind of an observant, kind of nosy older woman who is very much like a town gossip in a little bit of a sense. She's an excellent sleuth. She's very good at observing things, and that's how she uncovers clues and solves mysteries, because she really knows how relationships work. This is also, Agatha Christie is also an author that is listed on Rory's reading list. If you've ever seen it, I'll link it in the description. But those lists that show all the books that Rory has read throughout Gilmore Girls, Agatha Christie was featured several times, I believe. And this is an excellent Agatha Christie, in my opinion. I really, really enjoyed it. Another part that kind of reminded me of Gilmore Girls is there is a lot of crazy family drama in this book. So you really have like a lot of different generations dealing with each other, a lot of family tensions and things. And that again kind of reminds me of when you look at the 3 generations of Rory, Lorelai, and Emily. It reminds me a lot of that. So that is kind of our last book recommendation for this. It's just an absolute favorite of mine. I think any Agatha Christie is a great start for a good cozy read, but this one in particular, with the small town setting, the kind of kooky murder game that everyone thinks they're attending, excellent read. Absolutely recommend it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video on Gilmore Girls. I would love to hear your favorite character down below and what books you think really get you into that Gilmore Girls vibe. Thank you again for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I do upload videos every single week, especially on like cozy books, mysteries, thrillers, a lot of different books, but especially kind of in the mystery genre. So if that's your vibe, definitely hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!